I have a question actually about Misaq al-Nabiyeen.
Right.
In the Holy Quran it mentions, there are two verses. One verse, it defines what is Misaq al-Nabiyeen, that it is for the followers of the prophets to believe in the next prophets in the future. And then in Surah Al-Ahzab it says that this Misaq was taken also from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So does this mean that this is a proof that there will be prophets after the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Let's read them one after the
Yes.
other. And with reference to the exact wording of the Holy Quran, inshallah, we'll discuss this.
The first reference...
First is from Surah Al-Ahzab. Read that.
The one, oh yes, okay. From Surah Al-Ahzab it says, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِيثَاقَهُمْ وَمِنْكَ وَمِنْ نُوحٍ وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ وَمُوسَى وَعِيسَى بْنِ مَرْيَمَ وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. This is, and then in Surah Al-Imran.
Now the question here is, what is the Misaq the Holy Quran is referring to?
Yes.
And what does it mean? Now we turn to Surah Al-Imran, and there we find the word Misaqun Nabiyyin.
Yes.
So read that.
So this verse says, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ لَمَا آتَيْتُكُمْ مِنْ كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَكُمْ لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنْصُرُنَّهُ قَالَ أَأَقْرَرْتُمْ وَأَخَذْتُمْ عَلَى ذَلِكُمْ إِصْرِي قَالُوا أَقْرَرْنَا قَالَ فَاشْهَدُوا وَأَنَا مَعَكُمْ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ.
That's right. One thing is very clear, that the Mithaqun Nabiyyin mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab is this Misaq, because there is no other Misaq with the title of Mithaqun Nabiyyin to be found in the Holy Quran. Now, why did Allah say to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallam, wa minka? We also took this Misaq from you. And this verse happens to be in Surah Al-Ahzab, which also contains the verse of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. So it's a very important thing to remember. How could the Holy Quran contradict the very essential, fundamental statement of Khatam al-Nabiyyin in the same surah, and to have Nauz Billah min Zalik as if he had done with it? It's impossible. It is not only possible, it is probable. In fact, it is the style of the Quran that if one verse is likely to be misunderstood, there is a danger of a verse to be misunderstood, then the Holy Quran removes the misunderstanding itself. So the word Khatam al-Nabiyyin is understood to mean by the mainstream Muslims almost entirely that this is a categorical statement regarding the fact that after Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no prophet of any sort would ever come. It's irrelevant whether he brings a new law or does not bring a new law. If he is Khatam, it means he is Khatam of everything. So no prophet can ever come after the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the ultimate final statement. Then, after a few verses, you read that verse that we took a Misaq, remember this, from all prophets. All prophets that had gone before, also from you. Very interesting. One has to really understand the meaning of that Misaq and then turn back to the word minka, then we will understand the whole story. So now when we have discovered the Misaq, let's read it. What Misaq God had taken from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah as well. Where is that? Oh, the one
Yes.
which is open at that.
Surah Al-Imran, verse 82.
82, right?
Yes.
sorry. It's to the head. You know, I'm turning the pages. This is verse 82. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ لَمَا آتَيْتُكُم مِّن كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَكُمْ. And remember the time when Allah took a covenant from the people through the prophets. Now here the translation is made from the people through the prophets. I'll come to that. This is written in italics, which means it is not the literal translation of the Holy Quran. It is only the translator who is trying to explain things to the reader. So let's now turn to the words of the translation alone first of all. And remember is implied again. And when Allah took a covenant from the prophets, saying, whatever I give you of the book and the wisdom, and then there comes to you a messenger. After I have given you the book and the wisdom, then comes to you a messenger fulfilling that which is with you. You shall believe in him and help him. Then God said, do you agree and do you accept the responsibility? They said, we agree. This is the covenant. Now, if Allah had told Hazrat Muhammad Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam before this, that you are the Khatam in the sense that no prophet can ever come after you, then in the next breath, how could Allah take this covenant from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallam? He could have avoided the word minka, a small addition unnecessarily, perhaps, according to the others. We don't believe in unnecessary additions in the Quran, but the others have to say. Perhaps by mistake it was added, but there is no mistake in the Quran. The word minka is the key to the understanding of Khatamiyat. He did not exempt Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah for this, and the wordings were, again I repeat, لَمَا آتَيْتُكُم مِّن كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَكُمْ لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنْصُرُنَّهُ. Now, when we present this to the non-Ahmadi scholars who sometimes debate the issue with us, they take the plea that it is not possible to translate it as you think it should be translated, because no prophet did the bai'at of the following prophet. So what do they mean by يُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ or لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ? How could they believe in the prophet which had not come? So this does not mean this. We say, all right, what else does it mean then? Does it mean that تُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ means you will never believe in such a prophet? Moreover, personal contact in Iman is not at all essential, because we believe in all the prophets of God, even those whose name are not mentioned in the Quran. The Holy Quran says we don't know their history, where they were born, but we believe in all of them. لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. This is Iman. To believe in all the prophets is essential, yet to come and come into the presence of all the prophets is not mentioned at all. So the presence of the believer and the one who comes is not essential, number one. Number two, the Holy Quran speaks of Hadhrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam professing his belief not only in himself but also in all the prophets of God. So it's no insult to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to believe in another prophet if he comes. You see, آمنا بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه. That's the first thing. The first person to believe in a prophet is the prophet himself. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله. So this means that for every prophet to believe in every other prophet is essential. So also it was for Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if he was the last in time, as they say, then why should a prophet be mentioned in case of covenant from him, which was not to come? That is the important thing. About the past, the Holy Quran already speaks that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam believed in all the past prophets. Why there was any need to add minka and to refer to that covenant which speaks of a prophet to come? This is a very important thing. And secondly, it's very important to know, to understand how would they just a minute. لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنْصُرُنَّهُ. You will not only believe in him, you will help him and help his cause. Recently a munazara was held in Tamil Nadu area, or is it, yes, perhaps somewhere in India, in the south. I don't remember the exact name, but it was a very well advertised munazara between ulama of the non-Ahmadis and Ahmadi ulamas. This verse was also presented there. The non-Ahmadi scholar said, look here, Hadhrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he is already returned to God, how could he help? So it doesn't apply to him. They forget the fact that the same Misaq, when it is mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab, speaks.
Number 8.
Number 8? Yes, that's where it was. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِيثَاقَهُمْ وَمِنْكَ وَمِنْ نُوحٍ وَإِبْرَاهِيمَ. The first example quoted by the Quran is from Nuh and Ibrahim, while Nuh and Abraham did not meet.
No, that's obvious.
There is a flood in between them, a devastating flood, which almost destroyed everything else. They did not mean, how could he help Abraham? So, if he still could help Abraham, how could Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam not help the one who is to come in his own ummah? So that is a very important thing. And here, Hadhrat Ibrahim also in the Holy Quran is mentioned, min shiyate Nuh. So that's a very interesting similarity which is implied in this example, in this illustration. After Hadhrat Nuh, there was a long distance of time between Nuh and Abraham, yet God took covenant from Noah to help the coming prophet, who was born many centuries after, and his name was Abraham. And because there is a condition laid that that prophet whom you must help must be of your style, your thinking, your beliefs, and must not contradict anything which you say. So if such a prophet comes, where is the harm in helping him? And to emphasize this point, the Holy Quran at another place says, Abraham was min shiyat Nuh. So now, if Abraham could be helped by Noah, being from his Shia, why Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's prophet to be born in his own ummah as a complete subordinate to him and the Holy Quran should not be heavy on him? That is one thing. And the second thing is that without the help of a prophet, the other prophets cannot be properly accepted. And here the help means, as the Holy Quran has said, مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيَّ مِنَ التَّوْرَاةِ وَمُبَشِّرًا بِرَسُولٍ يَأْتِي مِنْ بَعْدِ اسْمِهِ أَحْمَدَ. Hadhrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam helped Hadhrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by not only believing in him, but predicting about him. So this is how the prophets help each other. So if Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself has predicted the coming of a Mahdi or the advent of Jesus Christ, then this is the meaning how he fulfilled his Misaq. And that is another proof that those traditions are right. They are based on the Quran and they are not imagined by people or concocted by people of a later date. If you don't accept those ahadith, then this Misaq is not fulfilled in any way. Because that is the only way the prophets help, by warning their own people, preparing them mentally for acceptance of the one to come. So whoever we find in a hadith comes under this verse. So the whole thing is tied up and it reads not only sense, it becomes a beautiful internal organization of the Quranic system which is revealed in these connections. Right? I hope you understood all of them. Could I make it clear?
Yes.
Because it's a bit involved, right? Another very important thing to be noted about with regard to this verse is that when we say that Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam is mentioned in hadith to come again, he is mentioned only metaphorically. It will not be he himself, but someone in his name will come. Yet he is referred to by the Holy Prophet ﷺ as Nabi. When we say that, they say you're wrong. It is not the one to come after him who is referred as Nabi. It is the one who was before him, who was already made a prophet. Then we say, all right, what about Imam Mahdi? Is he not Ummati Nabi? Nabiullah? Muti Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They say, no, he's just Imam Mahdi. All right, then how did he fulfill this Misaq? The Misaq says, when someone who is to come, a prophet will come after you, you must believe in him as well as help him. So he only helped the prophet before him, Jesus Christ. Where was the prophet mentioned by him, who was to come after him, and how did he fulfill his promise? And do they want us to believe that all the previous prophets from whom God took this covenant, they fulfilled their covenant, except Muhammad Rasulullah? Na'uz billah min zalik, he failed to fulfill his covenant. It's impossible. He had to fulfill, but where has he fulfilled? Show us. We can point at Imam al-Mahdi and say, Al-Imam al-Mahdi is a subordinate prophet. And he cannot be anything else. And when he pointed at Al-Imam al-Mahdi, he fulfilled this promise. Because Al-Imam and Al-Mahdi has two constituents, two components. Number one, Al-Imam, which means the leader who is appointed by God, no other. And the second, Al-Mahdi, he is guided by God. Unless he is revealed to, unless he is spoken to, how can he be guided? So Al-Imam, appointed by God, and Al-Mahdi, guided by God. These are the two components. And strangely enough, the other Muslims who oppose us have to accept these two conditions. Because when we inquire from them, tell us what sort of Imam Mahdi would it be? Will he be elected by people or appointed by some Muslim government? They say, no, certainly not. Neither will he be elected, nor will he be appointed. He would be made by God himself. Okay, that's fine, very clear. And what about Mahdi? Will he take his hadayat from ulama and sit before them to get his guidance from the ulama, to understand those parts in which they disagree? He said, no question. Al-Mahdi is the one who is guided by God. So then we ask them, now define prophethood. What are the true prerequisites of a prophet? Number one, that he is made Imam by God himself. Number two, that he is guided by Allah himself. And this is exactly the definition of Nubuwwat found elsewhere in the Holy Quran, where the Holy Quran speaks of prophets after prophets and then says, वो निकालें आयत, Surah Anbiya में है, I'll show you, which says that these are Aimma, جعلناهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا. A'immatan, remember, is the plural of Imam. Yahduna bi-amrina means al-Mahdiyin. It can't be translated in any other way. So the Holy Quran speaks of everything. Al-Bayyanat, what a beautiful Bayyanat they are. Doesn't leave even the smallest possibility of doubt left in the Holy Quran. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. If somebody is muttaqi, there is no problem in understanding the message of the Quran. And with reference to this verse which I have just quoted, it becomes very clear what Imam Mahdi would be and where he is mentioned. He is mentioned among the prophets. And the prophets of Allah before Ahmad are spoken of as A'immatan Yahduna bi Amrina. And Ja'alnahum. Nobody else elected them. We made them A'immah. Have you what?
Hadhrat, you mentioned it. It's وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا.
No, but I mean, the verse, the reference, but you better start.
Okay.
So this means that when Hazrat Muhammad said Imam Mahdi would come, he did not say it from himself. It was based on two verses of the Quran. Number one, the definition of Imam Mahdi was made clearly in the Holy Quran that it applies only to prophets. Number two, he had to fulfill his promise to God, his covenant with God. So when he prophesied of the coming of Al-Imam Al-Mahdi, he absolved himself in the sight of Allah as having delivered the message and having fulfilled his Misaq. Before this, there is a mention, long history of prophets which are mentioned. So we know what the Holy Quran is talking about. So I better read a few verses before. Just a few to give you a taste of what's going on. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوتًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ Ibrahim, نَجَّيْنَاهُ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ نَافِلَةً وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ. Wahi is an essential of Al-Mahdi. And Imamat is essential to a Mahdi. So the definition of the prophets mentioned is, Kulluhum were first Imam and number two Al-Mahdi. Al-Mahdi means to whom we send our Wahi. So how could Imam Al-Mahdi be different from that against the definition of the Quran?